And let me get Alain to come in at this point, because I'm really curious about the role of organizations like yours. Are you helping Africa, or are you part of Africa's problem?
Yeah, well, in my view, there are two disconnects. The first one is that the demographic dividend is phenomenally disconnected to the digital dividends in Africa. What I mean by that is that you have, as was said, a very large demographic youth population, as we've said and as we've heard. However, the digital connectivity, the use of digitization and the digital revolution of these young people is not at par. So, and when young people are using the digital revolution, it's often to be social, but it's not to be socially intelligent to influence policies. What is the evidence that you have from your day-to-day lives that you can bring about confidently, with a lot of credibility, to get to the ear of the policymaker? The second disconnect is much easier to elaborate on. It's a disconnect between generations. And so these two disconnects are both a problem but also a huge solution and an opportunity. Now, the intergenerational dynamics, in my humble opinion, have not been exploited enough in Africa, where you bring generations together, and you bring them together around policy issues. And so you make sure that you have different walks of lives and the three different generations to really debate and see constructively what can be done. And I believe that it doesn't happen automatically, and it certainly doesn't happen when young people don't make themselves credible. What we're observing in some countries, right, is that there is a barrier from the older generation because they believe that the younger generation is critical, they're activist, they are there really to be loud without being really providing solutions, without being constructive and so forth.
I'm going to come to him in a moment. So thank you for being so patient. But let me talk to you again about the role of organizations like the United Nations. And I'm particularly thinking about the DRC, where the UN has been involved. And I don't know if this is a fair question to put to you, because obviously he's shaking his head. But generally speaking, do you sense, though, that organizations like the UN have a role to play? I think I'll simplify that question a bit further. And if so, how can they be relevant in helping the continent move to where it should be?
Okay, so my direct answer to you is yes, we have a role to play. How is by looking at ecosystems, entrepreneurial ecosystems, where we are genuine to bring young people in, not for lip service or not to show, here's our young person, but to bring them into our offices and have them advise us. And I think this is a very, very basic construct that we need to make, is to go and say, you have a solution, please advise me, how can we do it differently? And I do believe that the United Nations is an ideal ground. I'm not saying that it's happening enough, or maybe at all, but we're trying, at least within my organization, within some of the organizations that are here in Uganda, to bring those young people to us and really say, please give us your perspectives, give us your solutions, so that we are genuine.
Do you listen?
Absolutely.
Is it easy to implement after you've listened?
It is not easy to implement as a manager, because that's when you have the generational clashes. But that's our role, is to make sure that there are no divisions, that there are no clashes between those generations.